your body becomes heavier, more relaxed, let us journey deeper into the stories of those who lived and breathed the Silk Road, whose lives were woven into this great tapestry of connection. Women played far more significant roles along the Silk Road than history often remembers. In the bazaars and workshops, women were skilled silk weavers, dyers, and embroiderers. Sogdian women, in particular, were known for their business acumen, often managing trading operations while their husbands traveled distant routes. In the nomadic cultures of Central Asia, women held positions of power and influence unthinkable in many sedentary societies. Mongol women could own property, manage herds, and even command military units. The mother and wives of Genghis Khan wielded considerable political power, and some Mongol queens ruled as regents over vast territories. The Silk Road, in bringing these diverse cultures into contact, also brought different ideas about gender roles and women's capabilities. The precious metal of silver served as the primary currency along much of the Silk Road, creating an early form of international monetary system. Persian silver coins, Chinese silver sisi ingots, and later Mongol silver pesos all circulated along the routes. The demand for silver was so great that it drove mining operations from Japan to Europe. Interestingly, the flow of silver often determined economic prosperity. When silver flowed into China to pay for silk and porcelain, it could cause inflation in the West and deflation in China. These economic ripples, traveling along the Silk Road, demonstrate how interconnected the ancient world had become, with financial decisions in one empire affecting markets thousands of miles away. Horses were perhaps as important to Silk Road trade as camels, though in different ways. The Chinese prized the heavenly horses from the Fergana Valley in Central Asia, powerful, swift horses that were said to sweat blood. In reality, these horses likely suffered from a parasitic infection that caused bloody sweat, but to the Chinese, they were magical creatures. The Han Dynasty launched military campaigns specifically to obtain these horses, understanding that superior cavalry could mean the difference between victory and defeat against nomadic raiders. A single fine horse could be worth 40 bolts of silk, making the horse trade one of the most lucrative businesses along the Silk Road. The fascinating process of cultural translation occurred constantly along the Silk Road. Buddhist sutras written in Sanskrit had to be translated into Chinese, but this was no simple task. Many Buddhist concepts had no equivalent in Chinese philosophy, so translators had to invent new terms or adapt existing ones. The Chinese word Tao, originally a Taoist concept meaning the way, was adopted to translate Buddhist Dharma. This creative translation work created a uniquely Chinese form of Buddhism that was neither purely Indian nor purely Chinese, but something new and beautiful, a hybrid born from the Silk Road's cultural exchange. Teams of monks would work for years on single texts, arguing over the proper way to convey complex philosophical ideas across linguistic and cultural boundaries. Pirates and bandits were constant threats along both land and sea routes of the Silk Road. The deserts harbored outlaw bands who knew every hiding place and water source. Mountain passes could be controlled by local warlords who demanded payment for safe passage. Even when traveling with armed guards, merchants faced danger at every turn. This is why merchant guilds and trading associations became so important. They could pool resources for protection, share intelligence about dangerous areas, and negotiate collectively with local authorities. The code of honor among merchants, crossing cultural and religious boundaries, became a kind of international law. A merchant's word and reputation were his most valuable assets, often worth more than the goods he carried. The exchange of artistic techniques along the Silk Road created some of history's most beautiful treasures. The art of cloisonné, decorating metal objects with colored enamel, traveled from the Byzantine Empire through Islamic lands to eventually reach China during the Yuan dynasty in the 13th and 14th centuries. Chinese artisans took this technique and perfected it to extraordinary levels, creating pieces so intricate they seemed to glow with inner fire. Similarly, the technique of creating miniature paintings, which flourished in Persian and Mughal India, influenced Chinese court painters, while Chinese landscape painting traditions influenced Persian artists. Every artistic tradition was enriched by contact with others. The Silk Road had maritime branches that were equally important to the overland routes. From the 7th century onward, Arab and Persian sailors mastered the monsoon winds of the Indian Ocean, enabling regular sea trade between the Middle East, India, Southeast Asia, and China. These maritime routes were faster and could carry heavier loads than camel caravans. The great port city of Quanzhou in southern China became one of the world's busiest harbors during the Song and Yuan dynasties, welcoming ships from across the known world. Archaeological excavations there have uncovered tombstones in Arabic, Persian, and other languages, evidence of vibrant merchant communities from distant lands who made this Chinese port their home. The legend of Prester John demonstrates how the Silk Road fueled both knowledge and fantasy in the medieval mind. Beginning in the 12th century, rumors spread throughout Europe of a powerful Christian king named Prester John who ruled a vast empire somewhere in the east. European crusaders and explorers spent centuries searching for this mythical ally, hoping to find a Christian kingdom that could help them against Islamic powers. The legend was likely based on garbled reports of Nestorian Christian communities in Central Asia and Ethiopia, filtered through many retellings along the Silk Road. While Prester John never existed, the search for his kingdom drove exploration and kept alive European interest in the East. Let yourself drift into the rhythm of ancient caravans, where each step forward was a step into mystery, where every stranger might become a friend, and where the journey itself was as valuable as any destination.